Just want to look at the project management and the project manager. When you look at these two concepts, the project management and the project manager, they are related, they're interlinked. Now, when we talk about the project manager, in your understanding, what do you think is a project manager in a project or in a program? What kind of a person is this? We just want to venture into project management and the project manager. When you look at the two concepts, the project management and project manager, they are interrelated. They are interlinked. There's no one without the other. Now, to kickstart our discussion, just want to check with you, in your understanding, when we talk about the project manager, obviously in a project or a program, what is a project manager? What kind of a person is this who is holding this title of a project manager? What does he do or she do in a particular project?
I think a project manager oversees what happens in the project, makes sure that that all the team members are taking part and goals are being made. Yeah, I think they play a role of overseer of all the tasks.
And obviously, part of the responsibility is to make sure that the project runs smoothly. That's what you are saying, né?
Yes, I am.
And on the other part of project management, this is obviously an activity which is done by the project manager, né?
Yes.
When we talk about project management, it entails that the project manager becomes responsible to manage the project, to make sure the project goes on smoothly, as you correctly pointed out. So don't mute yourself. We'll be continuing talking about this thing. Okay. So you're quite correct. When we talk about the project manager, is the person who is overseeing the whole process of the project, how the project unfolds, things which are there, and so on, from start to finish. And this project manager, you will see as we continue, wears a lot of hats in a project, has got different roles that this person has to play. In some instances where the project is so huge, you find that there are more than one project manager because they have to share responsibilities. So in the study here, we are going to look at the project management perspective, which we can, when we talk about project management, we can define it or just try to explain it in a very small scale as planning. You plan the project. When we talk about planning, Blessing, in a project, what elements do go into planning? What activities are being done in planning? What actually do we do when we say, now, let's come and sit down, let's start planning this project? In your mind, don't be scared. We are not looking for perfect answers. Just want to see how much you understand this thing. And okay, that will assist in terms of me giving you more information. In your mind, when we talk about planning a project, what happens there? What elements goes into planning?
When you sit down to plan, you have to think of, okay, what is it that you want to achieve? How are you going to achieve it? What resources you need to achieve whatever set goal, and the type of workforce that you might need to achieve that specific goal.
And you pointed something which is triggering my mind, and I'm tempted to make a follow-up question. You mentioned issues of what kind of resources will you need. In most instances, when you talk about resources, what are you referring to? What kind of resources?
Maybe like workforce, or maybe okay, for example, if it's a agricultural type of planning, maybe you might need seeds, irrigators, or yeah.
Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. Then in project management, we also talk of scheduling. The word scheduling comes immediately after planning. You have planned, things are up to scratch, you've got everything together, your resources, as you indicated, and all those things that you need in a project, they're there. Now comes scheduling. What do we do in the scheduling stage?
I think that's when you mobilize a team. And yeah, I think that's when you mobilize a team, and then also where you get the resources, planning when are you going to have availability to certain resources and the cost of those resources.
Precisely. Scheduling is like you are drawing up a timetable where you say this has to be done this way, this has to be done that way, and so on and so on. So you put everything in place, and obviously, when you are putting these things in a project, you're talking about human resources that you have also to allocate these other resources like your finances, your budget, equipment. I'm glad in your example you made mention of, let's say, it's agricultural project. You will need seeds, so you'll have now to distribute those seeds when you're doing the scheduling and so on and so on. So you're quite hands-on. Then you will go on now to see controlling of the project activities to meet the project activities. Now, when you start controlling, it means everything now is being implemented. So all these things, they fall under project management. Now you are sure of the project has to kick off, has to start functioning. Everybody has to be on his or her feet, starting to work. Then you can see the product coming up nicely. And this process, getting work done through other people by the use of human resources, as indicated, materials, time to achieve objectives. As I gave you the example of a timetable when we talk about scheduling. In a timetable, it goes with time frames. What has to be done by what time? So those things should be there. And together, we push all those things towards achieving the objectives in a particular project. Now, before we continue, there are two concepts that I want us to look at, which are critical in a project as well. The first one is centralization. When you do planning for a particular project, there is a thing that is called centralization. Centralization, where you have to centralize. So when we talk about centralization, in your understanding, what happens there?
I think
when you say you centralize something, planning for that matter.
I think it's taking. I'm not sure because I tend to confuse decentralization and centralization. I know.
Let's start with centralization first.
Okay, I'm not quite sure, but I think it has to do with taking a people-centered approach to your project.
Taking which approach?
A people-centered.
Okay.
Yeah, like yeah, based on what people need instead of what you think they might need.
this is one of the terms that I would like us to look at as well. People centered, what it means, what it entails, and so on and so on. And then let's as you are saying, you are not sure. I'm happy to hear that, but you think centralization might be related to putting people at the center of the project. Now, when you talk about this decentralization now, what does it entail?
I think it entails the project, or maybe let's say the government initiating without hearing what are the people's needs.
Okay. So now let's go back to centralization in planning a project. And remember, when we talk about centralization, it's related to decision making. It's related to making a choice for a particular project. Now, when you centralize planning, remember every project is meant for a particular community. Let's talk of government. When government plan a particular project, they're planning that project for a particular community. So now they decide to say, we want to give this community this kind of an infrastructure, a service. So when we say it's centrally planned, it means they are planning on top there. Let's take of South African government. We've got three spheres of government in South Africa. We've got national, we've got provincial department, and we've got municipality. So when we talk about centralization of planning, it means the plan is being developed at the national level. They don't go down to ask people who are the recipient of whatever projects that they are planning for them, but they just plan there at the grass on top, and then after planning, then they go down to say, we are here to give you this particular project. You see, so now they are given something which they did not ask for, and that becomes a problem. That becomes a problem because if you are planning, you want me to receive something which I did not ask for. How do I own that thing? How do I appreciate that thing? It becomes a problem. But if it's something that you allowed me to make input, to give you my views, that thing, I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to love it. That project will be protected, and I will love that project. So that is centralization. Now coming back to decentralization, you touched on it a little bit. It's when government, let's talk of government now, they say, we want to take services to the people. Now they think of a particular community in South Africa. Let's take Atteridgeville as we are here. When we talk about decentralization, they will have to go to Atteridgeville and talk to the people of Atteridgeville. Atteridgeville people, they will make their own inputs in terms of what do they want. Because government might say, want to give you a community hall. You only find that government people of Atteridgeville, they don't want community hall. They want something else. They want water. So because now plans are starting from the ground, they are able to say, no, guys, in our plans, we want water. If you can give us water, we are fine. You understand that?
Yeah, I understand.
So planning is done on the ground at the bottom, and then it goes up. That's the difference between centralization and decentralization. Power goes down on the decentralization. You give authority and power and delegation down to the lower level. But when you centralize, everything is done on top. So we'll come back to people-centered. Let's shelf it for now. So I wanted us to look at these two concepts, because we cannot talk about projects without having these two concepts involved. They will always be there with us. So now the entire aim of with managing development project is to ensure that the smooth running of a set of events that will reduce the development needs that created a need for development projects in the first place. In your mind, Blessing, when we talk about managing a particular project, one can say, why do we need a manager there in the name of a project manager? Because you just get some, give us money, then everything else will just be done. Somebody can just say that.
Well,
Why do you think, Blessing, is important to have a project manager?
it's important because they oversee that things are being done correctly, and that the of the project is not lost in between. That shows that okay, the objective will be met by the end of the project.
Imagine if we just go to Atteridgeville and say, we have got 500 billion, millions. Here's this money, make sure you've got water, and then government just leaves them with that 500 million. What's going to happen there without a project manager?
The money won't go towards the project.
You see, so that is the value of a project manager. So managing the project, managing development projects, it is crucial and important in that respect. And therefore that the task of the project manager will be crucial in orchestrating the different tasks involved, because the project manager will be able to say, here we are, different people are in place, they are here in the project, they have to work, but then somebody must be able to coordinate the activities that has to go and manage those people as well, so that the work is done properly. Then on the other hand, the trend towards decentralization planning, participatory and people-centered development means that the owners for the planning development activities now also rest squarely on the shoulders of ordinary citizens. That's what we were discussing earlier. That's what you mentioned when we were talking about, when you talk about people-centered development.
Yes.
And Blessing, remember, when government say, hey guys, this is your development, tell us what you want. Whatever project that you choose and they deliver to you, you will protect. Isn't that so?
It is.
And you will love it because you chose it, unlike when they just give you. So the project managers may include any person who at some time or another is actively involved in any one of the 5 stages listed above. And those stages, we've passed them. We talk of planning, we talk of participation, and so on and so on. And those ones that we mentioned on top the scheduling and so on and so on. Those are the stages that are always involved in project planning and in project planning and management. So the project manager is always there because he understands what the project has to entail. And the demands made on project managers and the challenging environments within which they operate make it crucial that project managers know what kinds of roles they have to fulfill. When they are busy operating there, working there, these project managers, interacting with their employees, they are very observant on where to intervene, where to give support, where to provide guidance, and so on, to make sure that the work which is carried out in a proper way. Here are some of the roles of the project manager. The proposal is that the project manager can be a chief executive officer. Have you ever heard about the chief executive officer in companies, Blessing?
Yes, I have.
What does the chief executive officer do in a company?
I'm not quite sure, but I
take
think,
for example, ESCOM, which is always in the news. there is a chief executive officer there. What do you think is his or her job?
I'm not quite sure, but I think it's to oversee company policies and to make sure that people are doing their job within the specific scope, and also ensuring that relevant people are employed.
Precisely. We'll get to that as we continue. But what you're mentioning is some of the roles that a chief executive officer must play. And one of the things that you have to bear in mind, it becomes a link. In companies like ESCOM, as I mentioned, there is a board of directors who are the people on top there. Then the chief executive officer becomes the link between the board and the total employees of the company. He's just in between there. When the board has got a meeting, he attends the meeting and get whatever resolutions that are coming from the meeting. And he makes sure that the resolutions which are taken from that level are implemented by the staff members. So he transfer or escalate the information from the board into the entire staff members. So you will see, we'll come back to that later. Now, he becomes a leader. Project manager becomes a leader in a project. What does a leader do in any circumstances?
They take charge, they take control.
They
make sure that things are done.
And give guidance as well.
Yes, and guidance.
And provide solutions where there are problems. Sometimes you don't, as a leader, you don't have those solutions. What do? You facilitate within the team that you're working with for them to bring out the solution. I might not be having the solutions, the answers to everything, but now my duty will be to go back and sit down with them, and then we discuss, and then they bring in some solutions. And then there is a diplomat. Diplomat is one of his roles that he takes place. This is more of politics when we talk about the diplomat. Yes, Blessing?
Do leaders and diplomats not share same roles when it comes to being the when it comes to problem solving and conflict management?
I like that ideology. I like it. I like it. So the roles they are more similar. But then the other thing is that the diplomat is as I indicated, that if he becomes like an executive officer, is a link between the top management and the entire of the staff. Now, when we talk about diplomat, he is a representative. He stands on behalf of. So you will see when we get into details about that. All projects involve the execution of a variety of activities utilizing physical and human resources to achieve specific objectives. And that's a showcase. You several times mentioned that human resources are needed. There's no way that work can be done, and there's no way that you can achieve anything without human resources. So you need human resources to come on board so that you are able to achieve what you are supposed to achieve. And within the project organization, someone must have ultimate authority for control of those resources. And that becomes what you were indicating earlier on, that a project manager as a leader, he must exercise, or she must exercise, control. What are you controlling? What do you think they must control? A manager, project manager.
They must control the people that are working with them, to make sure that everybody knows what there's
Yes.
to do. And as also with the example of the agricultural project, they must ensure that, okay, the suppliers are delivering on time and that everything is being done according to the way it was planned.
And what about the issues of budget that is entrusted on him?
Okay, yeah, there's also to make sure that everything is on budget and that, yeah, everything's on budget.
And you must also make sure you become accountable for every cent that is spent. Because at the end of the day, there must be some feedback in the form of reports on how the project is going, how the money was spent, you spent how much for what, and all those things. And that, at the end of it all, the project manager must make sure that there is an achievement of the objectives of the project. What was intended to be achieved must be achieved. That should be a definite yes. There's no way that you can spend the money without showing what the money has done. So the project manager must make sure that during his accounting is to say, here is what I was entrusted in, and then here's the outcome of that project. You understand that, ne?
Yes, I understand.
So this is usually the project manager who plays the same role in a project promoting small farmers, poultry clubs, as in one establishing a multi-million-dollar irrigation scheme. This is your area you were touching frequently, the farming part. So the project manager is given a responsibility to play a role in promoting these small farmers, poultry clubs, you know, and the aim is to make sure that people get involved in farming, in poultry farming. Then once they do that, it means they will be able to assist people now to be entrepreneurs and create their own jobs and even jobs for other people in the community where they're staying. So the project manager must promote that. When we talk about promotion as one of the roles and activities that the project manager must do, how do you promote this kind of business, Blessing? You go to the community, what do you do there? How do you promote it?
Well, you can show them benefits of that specific field, whatever it is that you're promoting, and you can show them how it can benefit them and how it can improve their socioeconomic status.
Precisely, because they have to see that if I don't join this thing, I'll be left out. But if I join, it means I'm going to gain something out of it. And this issue of ultimate accountability sets the project manager apart from the rest of the people working on the project. Because let's go back to that farming project, poultry farming project. Suppose there are about 100 people who are recruited to participate in that project. Then there is a project manager. Beside the 100 people, there's a project manager who is number 101. Now, in terms of the roles and responsibilities, the huge amount of accountability is placed in the hands and the shoulders of the project manager than these other people. These are other 100. When whoever, whether it's government funding or donor funding, whoever has provided funding, when they talk of responsibility, accounting responsibility, they will be looking at the project manager, not these other people. So it sets him aside from these other people. So the project manager, she must make sure that she accounts for the whole project. And managers must accept responsibility for all the actions of project personnel. We intend to reasonably expect that those actions are ultimately sanctioned by them. Remember, in those 100 in a project, there are managers, but they are not project managers. They are managers for particular jobs that they're doing there, the work that is being done there. So they manage those other people. Now, you look at the responsibilities that they're having. It's not the same as the ones that the project manager has. It is set aside. Now we're coming closely now to what I said we'll get to in no time, in terms of the roles of that the project manager is having. We said the project manager can be a chief executive officer. Now the role of that person, as we tried to come up with earlier, the role of a project manager, however, involves more than that of being accountable for the activities of the project and for providing ultimate validation for the actions of project personnel. It is far away from that. How do we mean that? And you will see that when we talk about that, what we mean is that we are setting him aside as indicated. The manager is expected to make things happen. You must action things. You must put things into action. Make sure that everything is done according to plan. By making active intervention, I indicated to you, he observes how things are done in a project. And when he sees that, or she sees that there's something which is going wrong, she must intervene and try to correct and make decisions on how to move forward. So there's a difference in terms of intervention as well as interruption. When you interrupt something, you are going to stop that thing to move. But when you intervene, you provide guidance, you provide sort of solutions towards that. So there is that difference that is there, and there's that line that has to be drawn. And the project manager cannot wait for changes to occur, but must actually create through the project team the changes required to achieve the project activities. What do you think, Blessing? While the project is going on, is being implemented, is it advisable when you observe something's not going the way it was supposed to initiate some changes? Do you think it's advisable?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's going to defeat the purpose if you carry on with something that you see that it's leading the project away from the objective. So rather redirect it so that you can make sure that the project will achieve the set objectives.
So you don't allow the situation to make changes, but you initiate changes yourself.
Yes.
So that you direct the whole project into the right direction.
Yes.
Okay. So in this respect, the manager's role as a coordinator is crucial in coordinating the efforts of the project team and outside institutions, and in controlling and allocating resources in order to achieve the objectives of the project. So that means now the whole team must make sure that they put efforts in terms of making sure that things go according to plan. And you also coordinate the efforts with the entire project team. And also, with management, it doesn't only look at the inside personnel. As I indicated, that there are maybe the money that you're utilizing is from a donor, or perhaps from government. Even if it's from government, now you manage even those officials from government who will timelessly come to the project and so on to check what is going on, to monitor the project and so on and so on. So as a project manager, you interact with those people to make sure that things go according to plan. Sometimes you find that they don't give you money and say, here's the money, use it as all it. You have to claim the money. You request through claims from them timelessly. When you see that you are at a particular phase, you need money, then you claim. That's your responsibility as a project manager, to process all those invoices to make sure that they're paid on time. So allocation, controlling and allocation of resources, it becomes a crucial role of the managers in the project. And that has to be coordinated very well so that it doesn't derail the achievement of the objectives of the project. A leader, you made a lot of inputs with regard to the role of a leader in a project. How does a leader look like? What role is the leader doing or performing in a project? And it's closely associated with the role of a chief executive, as you indicated. But quite distinct from it is the manager's role as a leader. It is in this role that managers exert authority and influence directly over the people working. I indicated that as a manager, you have to influence your people, motivate your people to perform, do much better. Make sure that they are always on time and so on and so on. You know, in some instances, if you are not, as a manager, you're not manager of the project, you're not responsible and strict enough. They will go on lunch for more than an hour. And when they come back, find that some people are not there. And always. So if you manage it properly, you make sure that everybody comes back on time. They go on lunch on time, they come back on time, and then the project is not suffering because you are able to control this thing, either for the project or in the local environment. So in their role as leaders, project managers define the ethics, very critical. When we talk about ethics, what is your understanding of ethics, Blessing? What are ethics?
I think ethics has to do with what drives you. We think it's similar to your morals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it says like, I don't know how to explain it. Almost like helping you define what's right, what's wrong, whether you want time, your time management, your honesty, whether you're honest in your work, accountability, whether you're accountable for your work. Yeah.
And then norms? What are norms?
Norms, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
And values?
For example, it has to do with whether you're honest, whether you don't lie, you're honest, you're on time, you take accountability.
The three are not far from each other. Ethics, norms, and values, they're not far from each other. It's, as we were explaining, is how things that governs you, you know, it's like informal rule laws. When I'm saying informal, they're not written, but it's something that should be within you, how you conduct yourselves, how you do things. You know, you follow some kind of a pattern of doing things. Like you indicated, you are always on time. You must make sure you are on time. And when you are sick, you have to report that I'm sick, and so on and so on. Those are ethics, norms, and values. They are more or less the same things. So project managers, they have to define these things to the employee, to the project team. Everyone must know. You can't take somebody by surprise. For example, to say, "Hey, we're starting work at 7 and you are here at 9," and you never tell this person that we start at 7 here, and if you don't arrive on time, it means you are late, and if you are late, there are consequences. So don't surprise a person when this person is late. You have to define these things, you explain these things. You explain how things are done here at home, the culture of things here at home. Then the project will go smooth. Establishing the atmosphere of the organization, when people knows what to do and what not to be done, it's easier to manage those people. But those ones who do not know, it's difficult to control them because it has never been explained to them. And the way that various project tasks are approached, how do we do these things? So it's the duty of the project manager to make sure that you explain these things to the project team. All of those people, they must know these things and understand them. Then you will see there will be smooth running of the project. Even if you happen to be away for an hour or so, you are not afraid that when you come back, you will find the work, it is still there where you left it. Because you will see that these people, they did what they were supposed to do. And even the problems, if they arise, they are able even to solve their own problems without your presence. In a brief review of the history of management at the beginning of, it was pointed out that qualities of leadership have to be subjected as to the subject of study and debate over a period of time. This is what usually happens, even in conferences where people meet, they discuss these things and try to define it. And even today, as we speak, we can't run away from this reality. Though the ground for debate has shifted a little bit in some instances, but we still have the leader regarded as leadership as part of a project manager. And leadership and motivation are closely associated and are two of the basic skills in management, in managing people. So you have to have these two together, So there's no way that you can run away. As I indicated, that a leader must motivate. So motivation becomes one of the critical elements when it comes to issues of project management. The one that we spoke a little bit about, Diplomat. And we say the role of the project manager is a diplomat, reflects the fact that a key requirement for the manager is to manage the project's frontiers. You as a project, you have to do that. Projects, by definition, are intrusions upon the existing environment in both physical and institutional terms. And the role of a manager in this instance as a diplomat is to negotiate the relationship between the project and its environment. In this instance, a blessing, when you go to the community, let's go back to Atteridgeville as our example, where that Atteridgeville becomes the environment where the project is to take place. Now, when you have to go there and negotiate, we say you negotiate the relationship between the project and its environment. What kind of negotiations do you think will happen in that space? What do you do there when you get there? Remember, now it's the project is not yet there. You are still leveling the ground. Then you have to go there and talk to the people as the environment where the project has to happen. What do you think the negotiations will be all about there as part of Diplomat?
I think firstly they have to inform the residents of what they are planning to do, and also find out if the residents are willing to accept this, and if not, what are they willing to accept and what type of projects they need in the area.
So
about how the project
yes, you can please continue.
Might affect the environment. Maybe if where the project is going to take place, somebody was selling there as an informal market to find out if the project is implemented there, how will it affect those people and their source of income?
And as we explain, it means you have to get a buy-in from the community, to the project.
Yes.
Because if that relationship is not there, you might not even be able to implement the project. Because if they're saying no, we don't want it, where are you going to implement it? So then the diplomat part of a role that a manager has to play is to make sure that he gets a relationship. You recall when I started mentioning these roles, when we spoke about the diplomat, I said it's more like a diplomat is more political, where countries negotiate relationships with each other. Here in South Africa, as I talk to you, we've got more than 30 ambassadors from other countries of the world because we have got a relationship with them. So that relationship gives them the privilege to come and stay in South Africa and work in South Africa because we have got a relationship with them. So same applies here. You need to get a buy-in so that the project can smoothly be implemented. Otherwise, it won't see the light of the day. People will just reject it. And you have to make sure that you work on that so that they accept it. At one level, the diplomatic role is required simply to ensure adequate support for the project in terms of resources, supplies, and services. When we talk about you will need to get the resources, what kind of resources do you think we can get in that environment, like Atteridgeville? We want to do a project there. Then we want to negotiate so that we can get supply of resources there. What kind of resources do you think we need there?
I think first of all, human resources.
That's correct. That's correct. And you might find that it's not only human resources and plenty of resources that can be readily available there. They can, if they see we are working together, they can provide that resources as well. Supplies. What do we mean by supplies there? Let's say we want to build. Let's say we want to build houses there. As government, we have got a project to build the houses, RDP houses. What kind of supplies do you think we will need and will get there?
Bricks, cement, window frame.
Precisely. There's no need for a project to go and get supply from far away, as we've got local people who can provide that. So if the relationship is there, it's easier to get those supplies locally, as long as they meet the Bureau of Standard and services. Any other service that we need there, we'll gladly get it from local, and life becomes easier. And this, it means, as you indicated, that the resources, it might be human resource. That means the project is creating employment for the local people. You mentioned in your explanation that perhaps you find that there are people who have got stalls, they're selling whatever they're selling along the streets and so on and so on. Those people, when they see there's a project coming, they open some stalls next to the project and they're selling something, then they're making some money to feed their families. It is necessary in order to ensure the political support, without which it is likely to fail. When we talk about political support in a community, but going back to Atteridgeville, what kind of, who are we talking to politically there?
Community leaders. and yeah, I think community leaders.
Who is a political representative in a community?
Is it not a community leader?
Yes, beside a community leader. Remember, it can be you can be a community leader, but you're not a politician.
Mayors. Councillors.
Yes. So when you get to that area, you approach the local municipality, and then you also get support from the local councillor. And then, correctly said, you also talk to the community leaders. Because remember, community leaders might be from the various political parties or even neutral, not even affiliated to any political party. So all of those people, you need to get their support. So you talk to them, you make sure that all of them, they are in agreement with the proposal to bring about the project there. So a common illusion of project managers is that because the project has been planned, appraised, negotiated, and agreed out prior to implementation, all situations and agencies in the environment will be supportive of the project goals and approach. That's what we're talking about now. When all stakeholders within that community have been approached and they are happy with the project, then you know that the project is safe. Then you are happy that we're going to achieve the objectives of the project because everybody is on par with what we want to do. This most unlikely to be a case because other organizations often consider new development projects as threats to their own spheres of influence. Meaning that there is a tendency in some areas where you get there, you find that there are some people who are influential. They don't like the project. For example, they make it more political. Let's say, for example, in a particular area, the local municipality there is led by, for argument's sake, is led by Inkatha Freedom Party. They are the ones who are ruling in that particular municipality. And remember, even if they are the ones who are ruling, within that municipality, there are other political parties who are there. And when you get to the community, people might think that this project is from Inkatha Freedom Party. Then they might find a way of sabotaging it, fighting it, influencing people along those lines, and so on and so on. So hence the necessity of making sure you level the ground by negotiating relationships with everybody so that that project will fly. Lastly, let's look at the situation is particularly pronounced in areas where many different projects, usually sponsored by different agencies, are attempting to achieve different objectives and maybe competing for resources. In other words, you find that in that area, it's not only the one project that you're bringing. There are some other projects which are sponsored by different donors. And you find that those people, they think perhaps when you bring your own project, people will start to love your project. And now their project will not be taken seriously anymore. Now there's a competition. And how do you do it? A blessing. How can you do that? How can you solve that problem? You are a project manager, you get there, find out there are other projects being implemented there. And those people now, they become suspicious that your project might be coming there and it will now cause a problem for them. Because now there's a competition. In that kind of a situation, what do you think you can do as a project manager to make sure there's a good working relationship with these other projects which are there?
Okay.
Not confuse people.
in that situation, that's when the project manager has to play the role of a diplomat and approach the other project to inform them that to reassure them that their project is not good. It's not any threat to their project, and that they can actually work together to develop the community.
That's correct, because that's the only way. You have to talk to these other project managers, these other agencies which are implementing there, and assure them that what you're bringing in is not a competition, it's an addition to what they're providing already. So there's no need for them to panic. You are not going to cause any mishap in their situation. And the manager's role as a diplomat requires a high level of sensitivity. You become sensitive. And when you become sensitive, you're able to be observant and make sure that whatever is happening in your surrounding, in your environment, you pick it up with ease that, hey, there's a problem here, and then you deal with that. And you must possess good negotiation skills or negotiating skills. You must have that. That's very critical. When your understanding of negotiating skills, what kind of skills is this? What do you do? What activities goes along with the negotiating skills?
Well, you shouldn't be biased, and listen to both parties and what do they have to say, and you must remain neutral.
And be convincing in whatever you're bringing as a counterpoints, to win over the attention of the people that you're negotiating with. That's very important. And feel for the situation. When you feel for the situation, it means you understand that whatever's happening here, I'm not here to close up anything, but I'm here to make sure things go according to the plan, so that at the end of the day, you will achieve the set objectives. That is very critical. So that is some of the roles of the project manager. So we'll continue to talk about these things again next week when we meet, and you will see as it unfolds that it is so important to possess these roles as a project manager. And if all the project managers were having these roles, things will go smooth, and you will see projects not stalling, because you know how to deal with the situation, whether it comes from inside or is an external situation, you are able to deal with it. For example, the issues of these other projects being implemented, the way you want to implement your project, that is an external. But when you talk about the employees within the project, that is internal. So you are able to deal with all those things with ease. I hope you gained something in our discussion.
Yes, I did. I gained a lot.
So let's meet next week on Monday. Then we'll continue where we left off